To date, the January 6th committee has interviewed more than 970 witnesses in connection with the Capitol insurrection. Today, Rudy Giuliani was supposed to join that list till he bailed at the last minute. According to a tweet from Donald Trump's former personal lawyer, it was because he wanted his voluntary testimony to be covered live on national television, or at least recorded, which was denied. Giuliani's lawyer said he nixed the meeting because the committee would not allow him to record it. Of course, it shouldn't be surprising that Giuliani would want to turn his meeting into a public spectacle. That is all he did following the 2020 election, while he traveled the country peddling false election fraud claims. We all remember that infamous Four Seasons landscaping presser, you know, the one held between a crematorium and an adult bookstore.
Because they don't decide the election. The call for Joe Biden is it? Who was it called by? Oh my goodness, all the networks. Wow. All the networks. We have to forget about the law. Judges don't count.
Can't make this stuff up. Or how about when he appeared alongside Sydney Unleash the Kraken Powell as what looked like black hair dye poured down his face? And how do we know that he was acting as the Pied Piper of election disinformation? Well, he told us. CNN obtained a video of Giuliani's sworn deposition in a defamation suit filed by a former executive of Dominion Voting Systems. In it, he said, under oath, that he doesn't attempt to confirm the veracity of all his wild allegations before repeating them publicly.
It's not my job in a fast-moving case to go out and investigate every piece of evidence that's given to me. Otherwise, you're never going to write a story. You never come to a conclusion.
Joining me now, Barbara McQuaid, professor at the University of Michigan School of Law and a former U.S. attorney, and Kurt Bardella, advisor to the DNC and DCCC. Barbara, I'll start with you. I'm going to ask you the basic question that I ask every single time that most average Americans who are not lawyers are asking. Why is this man not in jail? Why is he not in jail right now? He skipped a court hearing. If I skip traffic court, they will come to my house. So why is Giuliani not in jail right now?
Yeah, you know, you raise an excellent point, Jason. I think we all agree with that. I think that he has been working with the committee to try to work out some sort of negotiation. And the committee, when there are executive branch sensitivities, does try to work through this, what's called negotiation and accommodation process. And until recently, he's actually been at least pretending to want to negotiate. I don't know whether it's been genuine. And if you can work that out, then that's favorable. You can get the information that you need without going to court. But, you know, at the end of the day, he's all he says is he wants to call the shots. He wants it to be recorded. He wants to put bits of it on television, no doubt, or on social media. And the committee doesn't have to let him call the shots. And so it'll be interesting to see what move is next. But certainly one power they have is to refer this to the Justice Department for criminal prosecution. But as we have seen, they have not been incredibly eager to do that in most cases. They did charge Steve Bannon, but there have been some others that they have not charged, at least not yet.
So, Kurt, you know the old phrase, picks or it doesn't count. Look, I get Giuliani saying, hey, I want this to be public. I want this to be a spectacle. And I understand why the committee doesn't. But this leads to a larger question that I'm concerned about, Kurt. Later on this year, we know the January 6th committee, they're going to have these public hearings. Is there a legitimate fear and concern? Because Giuliani wanted this public because he knows that he can manipulate the crowd. He knows he can get the viral moments. Is there a chance that when Democrats do these committees later on in the year, that they're going to lose the narrative, that it actually plays into the hands of Republicans who like making crazy viral moments on TV that get repeated by Tucker?
You know, Jason, this is where I think that Kevin McCarthy really screwed up. When he vacated the committee and dictated that his members and his caucus would not participate in the committee, he surrendered the ability, really, to make this a show. We see all the time in other proceedings. We saw it with the Supreme Court nominations, confirmation hearings. We've seen it all the time with oversight with characters like Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz hijacking the proceeding with their shenanigans and their clownery. Well, that's not going to happen because the two Republicans on this committee, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzer, they believe in the core mission of this proceeding. So it's going to be a lot harder for any witness who goes before this committee proceeding when these hearings start next month in June to try to hijack it, to try to filibuster, to try to run out the clock, to try to redirect the entire proceeding with nonsensical questions that have nothing to do with the topic. They're not going to be able to do that because every single member that's on this committee believes in the work of the select committee. And that is where Kevin McCarthy really screwed up, because Donald Trump's going to be watching these proceedings and he's going to lose his mind when he sees that nobody's out there defending him.
So, Barbara, I want to think about this. The January Select Committee, they had a couple topics that they wanted to talk to Rudy Giuliani about. They wanted to talk to him about promotion of his claims that the 2020 election was stolen, attempts to disrupt, delay vote certification, urging the former President Trump to seize voting machines, contract with former President Trump on around January 6th. Here's my question. You can ask Rudy Giuliani these things, but we kind of already know what his answers are going to be. And so at this point, I understand the need and the desire to collect as much information as possible, but the public needs to understand that this is just collection of information that will eventually be handed to the Department of Justice. Is it really going to be that big of a deal if Giuliani doesn't testify, if he's already been singing in sort of previous interactions with the committee?
Well, one of the things that you can obtain when you question people, of course, is helpful information. But as you say, we probably know everything he's going to admit to that could be helpful information. But there is value in putting someone under oath and locking them into a story, whether he says, I don't recall, or if he says this is the way it happened, because it makes it more difficult later for them to back down from that, to say that something different happened. So even if it's not very helpful, we used to do this all the time when we conducted grand jury investigations. If there was a witness that might be friendly to a target of an investigation, if you could put them in the grand jury, at least lock them into their story so you know what it is they're going to say later, that can be very helpful to investigators. And so, you know, on the theory that they should leave no stone unturned and they should listen to people who not only have incriminating evidence against Donald Trump, but also information that might be exonerating and important to know, let's give him an opportunity to come in and tell us what he knows. I think that's what's happening here.
So, Kurt, a spokesperson for the January 6th committee said, Mr. Giuliani is an important witness to the conspiracy to overthrow the government, and he remains under subpoena. If he refuses to comply with the committee, we will consider all enforcement options. To me, that is a Susan Collins-esque, strongly worded letter. What kind of enforcement options do you think the Democrats use? As far as I'm concerned, the enforcement option should be an orange jumpsuit and a perp walk on nightly television, right, between sitcoms, right? But we know they're not going to do that. So what do you think the next options are going to be?
Well, they're clearly hinting at holding him in contempt, which they've obviously done before with Steve Bannon. You know, honestly, Jason, I'm of the mindset I'm going to wear my former Republican Oversight Committee hat here. I could tell you this. If this type of sequence happened when we were there, I would have been in the meeting with the chairman saying, all right, let's call his bluff. He wants to do this on tape. Let's have a hearing tomorrow, put his ass under oath, and let's ask him some questions and make him answer them. Because we know he doesn't want to do that. That's why he's playing this entire game. Republican Trump enablers are assuming that the Democrats on the committee don't have the stomach for some of these fights. They watch Steve Bannon completely blow this thing up, walk away without any type of real penalty or consequence. Giuliani is doing the same thing. He says he wants this on tape. Put him in the witness stand, have a hearing, and make him do it under oath.
I need a full Judge Judy moment with a large bailiff who's going to consider him to be rude and drag him out. That's the only way that I think that people will think the Democrats are taking this seriously. Barbara McQuaid and Kurt Bardella, thank you so much for joining us on The Readout tonight.